So today we're talking about morale from the Ukrainian troops fighting at the front and morale among the citizens in the rear. Now, it's an impossible metric to measure, but it's critically important in any armed conflict, especially one this large as it drags into its fourth year. So to help unpack this complicated issue, we're talking today with Rick the Ukrainian and Roman Trokhymets. Rick runs a YouTube channel focused on the war where he organizes some awesome campaigns to help the Ukrainian military. In fact, he and Roman have one right now with Car for Ukraine, great organization we've worked with recently on this channel to help get 5 trucks to the 53rd Mechanized. That link, of course, will be in the description below. Then Roman is a former Ukrainian soldier who puts out some great information to help folks around the world better understand and follow the war. You can find links to both of their social media accounts in the description below. And with that, let's get to the conversation. All right, Roman, Rick, thank you guys so much for taking the time. We had to bounce this around a little bit because, power issues in Ukraine. It's no joke, actually having to line up that schedule. So appreciate you guys being flexible, and thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you, Preston.
Thank you for inviting.
Yeah, of course. I was fortunate to make my first trip over to Ukraine a couple weeks ago, and we almost linked up while there. It was a bit of a chaotic couple days, but when coming back, people were asking like the big picture questions of what's the sentiment around the war? What are people feeling? How are they thinking? And I don't feel like I had a good grasp on that because most of our time was with soldiers. And I feel like there's probably a very different view from someone in, say, Sloviansk than maybe that they might not speak for the entire citizenry, of course. And at risk of putting you guys in the spot here to speak for all of Ukraine, I was hoping you could talk about maybe what the people are feeling as we come up on the 4-year mark. So, maybe Rick, starting out from your perspective, we were just talking about how much you've had to do personally to kind of be able to live in this type of situation. How do you think the people are feeling at this point?
Oh, it's actually good that you also have me, not just Roman, because Roman can give the military perspective and I can give the civilian perspective. Since I'm a civilian, the morale here is different. The people are different, So, for example, the conscious people who understand that for us it's the only way to, resist and win this war, and victory is different for everyone, of course. But in this case, if we lose this war, that will mean the end to our statehood, the end to our nation, because what Russia came here to do is to actually commit genocide. They are not okay with Ukraine existing. This is my opinion. Some may not agree with this, but knowing the historical perspective of all these invasions that Russia committed many times before and occupied us for almost a century, in 20th century, for example, they want to eliminate all Ukraine. And this is why people who understand this, we understand that we have no other choice, because occupation is not peace. If we won't make a just peace with Russia, we will get this peace where they occupy half of our territory or all of our territory, and then come for the rest, or just if they have all the territory, they will just deal with all the people who won't agree to live in Russian occupation. They usually deal with those people by extermination of them. So for me, the morale is pretty high. I think we can adapt to anything. We can adapt to the absence of electricity, water, heating. This is all Ukrainians proved actually in the last 4 years that we can easily adjust to that. As we say, it's better with none of that, but without Russia. So I think this is my answer. Of course, there are different examples opposite of my example, but I think we should actually look into positive examples in this case.
Roman, when looking more at the military side of things, again, you are not speaking for the Ukrainian military, so we'll get that out there. But I'm sure you've got friends still throughout the force and very heavily involved in all sectors of the front. What are you seeing from that end? Is the morale still there? And look, it would be understandable at this point if morale was slipping. It's 4 years into a war. Like from soldiers to civilians, I think it would be fully understandable if there is a shift there. But from the military side, what are you seeing?
Yeah, Preston, it's very interesting and important question, and I believe I'm experiencing both sides because right now I'm like retired because of my injuries, and I spent last almost 2 years in hospitals so I consider myself sitting in or laying down in the rear. But I have a lot of combat fellows on the front line still, and I believe first thing that we need to understand that Russia are very strong in propaganda and in informational war. And all these strikes, rare and civilian infrastructure, and leaving civilians without electricity and heating in such frosty winter, it's an intentional move just to break the rare morale. It's very important to understand because they can't beat us on the front line, and they try to find the way how to break our defense. So living in such condition for 4 years of full scale invasion and for like 11 or 12 years of whole war, it's
Yeah.
it's unspeakable because especially taking into consideration full scale invasion, it thousands of kilometers of front line, more than 1,000 kilometers. I don't know any example of the war which happens just against one country with no active uh, alliance, like
Hmm.
active friends. I don't know no country which was under rocket and drone attack for 4 years with no rest. And yeah, we get support from other countries, much appreciate. We have some volunteer foreign soldiers, but mostly it's Ukraine who pay with their life and with their blood. And from my opinion, many people tired and exhausted, and it's totally understandable because psychologically people can't resist, you know, unlimited stress every single day for 4 years. It's not being in toxic relationship or in hated job where your boss shouted on you. It's way worse just to understand the parallel because you could be injured, killed, die, or your house will could be just explode. At this point, from the other side, we had this spirit and this core to inner strength to keep on resisting this invasion. And not the last part of that, it's international support as well, because we still, especially with Rick on his stream or with my social media, we talk to different foreigners who still keep on supporting Ukraine, and this understanding that we are still together, and we find all over the world conscious people who connected and fight together against terrorist Russia. It gives some hope. So nevertheless, despite we all exhausted and my brothers in arms on the front line, they so tired, it's unimaginable. We still resist. That's the point.
Roman, you're talking about the people that are helping, the citizens, the individuals, and as inspiring as that has been, and you guys see it, it feels like that's taken the place of governments. Speaking from the United States, our aid has essentially stopped in terms of military aid. How is that? I don't know. I'm trying to think of the question here, but it's how is that being received? Like, is there hope that the U.S. and others will step back up and maybe provide more? Have you seen people just kind of move on and say we can't bank on that? We have to do this ourselves? Because that's been a significant change in just the last year.
You ask me, right?
Yeah, Roman.
Okay. So you see, that's the point. From one part, we keep on fighting without U.S. Military support for like a year, right? Since
Mhm.
Trump get president.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But from the other side, even in this crisis, this is the most important to understand the psychology of Ukrainian thinking, how Ukrainians act in this crisis. We start producing our own drones. which is cheaper, which is right now a lot of mass product in Ukraine, and we invented our new Peklo and other shells like rockets. So we try to be flexible and not to rely only on our friends, because American are friends, but their government, I don't think so, unfortunately. So even in this crisis, we find some opportunity to survive.
And then, Rick, from your side, you're doing a great job fundraising and helping kind of shine the light on so much of this. You mentioned, Roman mentioned kind of the international voices. Do you see within your audience, is it mostly international? Is it Ukrainian? Where does that tend to sit?
You mean like the supporters and people who
Yeah.
are watching?
Yeah, the people that are helping in some way from your perspective.
Of course, since I speak English and since my content is in English, that it's international. We have around, I don't know, 3 or 5% of Ukrainians as members of the community. They are also donating. But you got to understand, Preston, and everyone else who's watching this, that Ukrainian resources, unfortunately, has depleted in the last years. Ukrainians were donating big time in the first year, and a lot of really conscious Ukrainians who understood that it's an investment into their own future, supporting the army. They spent all of their savings. I know personally people, some businessmen, who spent, tens of thousands of dollars on this, and some hundreds of thousands. And Ukrainians are not able to donate as they did before. And I see it from many Ukrainian volunteers that they are struggling to close the fundraisers that they start, and it's getting harder with each year. I also see some complications from the international side, but to be honest, it is nothing comparing to what Ukrainians are struggling with. And people from all over the world, they keep supporting, even though, you know, some of those people's budgets has also depleted a bit. They don't leave anyway. They keep donating what they can, and that's very important. Actually, to be honest, you know, the small donations, they make the big difference, because it's not necessarily a big donation that is closing the campaign. It can be many small donations, and we have the saying in Ukraine, there are no small donations, but one Ukrainian leader says it differently. He says that small donations are the big power, and Roman knows that leader. He is also following his work. Probably not mentioning names here, but if you want me to, then Preston, I will definitely mention the name of that volunteer, a Ukrainian volunteer. But what can I say? I see so many people, and there are new people joining the community, joining the fundraising. You see, I raise funds on every stream multiple times a week, and it can be exhausting. But we still reach the goal every time, and I see that whenever someone is tired, there is going to be a backup. There are going to be new people who is going to join. Magically, the universe will always bring us to the goal. And we also have this saying in our community, we call this a roller's magic. It's when the Rick Rollers, that's how we call the members of our community. Yeah, Rick Roll is something that we have also here as an important part of our community, because we will never gonna give each other up, and never gonna let each other down. And most importantly, our soldiers, we will never gonna let them down. And you know, when people are donating, and for example, I'm doing the raffles of different flags and patches on my stream, I know that most of the people don't care about any of those items, because they donate the money to Ukrainian defenders. And they often tell me this, and they often never even want the raffle tickets, you know, they just share it with everyone else. And it is so good to see how people are prioritizing the help, and how selfless they are in many cases, because, you know, there are some really touching stories how people are giving sometimes their last finances or savings to make this important contribution. So I feel great gratitude to every supporter of Ukraine, whether it's my fundraising or your fundraising. I know, Preston, that you're also raising with Car for Ukraine, and we do too. Me and Roman also raise with them right now. And, it's great that we keep doing this together, that we are uniting our forces and joining these amazing initiatives like Car for Ukraine. So, Preston, from me personally as a Ukrainian, I want to thank you for raising funds for Ukrainian defenders. It is very important and very appreciated, especially by them. You probably know how it lifts their spirit. You went there and talked to them. Can you share a bit of that experience yourself?
That was wild, man. It's cool to be able to have, you've got text messages, and then you've got video calls. You feel like you get to know people more and more, and then you meet them in person, and you're like, "Wow, you're so much taller than I thought you were going to be." No, it's awesome to see where we were. We wandered into a headquarters building accidentally. We went into the wrong one, and we were looking for some people that happened to be down the street. And on the shelf was a box that it had my name on it because we had fundraised that for a drone company. It was just sitting there. So talking to those guys about that, it's just really cool to be able to see not just the stuff going over, but the people on the receiving end. They were so incredibly gracious, start to finish. It was a little emotional, if I'm being honest, seeing how grateful they were for all of that. But at the beginning of the war, there were a lot of people stepping in, wanting to help. It feels like that number has gone down. People other things happen, right? They have a kid, there's something crazy on the news, or they get burned out, whatever it might be, especially looking at the international audience. People around the world have the luxury of getting distracted with something else that you in Ukraine don't. I'm wondering how you guys have maybe changed your approach or the message that you're trying to relay. As a bit of just an example, kind of a primer here, I've noticed that in the United States, I've had to talk more, and it's important, all of these things are important, but had to talk more about how the war impacts us. So instead of, this is bad, this is wrong, this is why it's important for U.S. national security. And I feel like that resonates with Americans just coming into the fold, if that makes sense. Maybe starting again with Rick here, have you noticed any messaging or change in your content to try to reach new audience?
I would say, of course, I'm trying to be more organized because I'm known by a chaos. Sometimes that chaos is cool. Sometimes it's either cute or funny, but sometimes it can be not really attractive. So I'm organizing my work better, and of course, I also I cannot say how I changed my, let's say, message to Americans. It's actually hard for me to recognize that, but it's much easier now to show Europeans that they are actually next, because Russia is planning to invade Europe too, and it is a real danger. And my audience understands that. I haven't seen a single person from my community who said, Rick, no, Russia will not invade Europe. This is impossible. I think Europe woke up. I think the majority of Europeans understand that they need to invest in their defense more. And I'm talking, of course, about about the citizens, maybe not about the politicians, because we see different examples. But there are examples of politicians who are really invested into all of this. Just look how Denmark is supporting Ukraine, for example. For me, I don't know, the Denmark is the leader of supporting Ukraine, both on the political level and on the level of citizens, So
you said Denmark.
I said Denmark, yeah, because
interesting.
Denmark,
Say more about that. I feel like that's not usually something I would hear. I feel like folks would normally say maybe Estonia or Poland, but Denmark.
Yeah, Denmark. I usually also like to point out Denmark because it's not usually spoken of, but I see and overwhelming leadership and support. They start new initiatives like Denmark Model, right? You know, when they invest into Ukrainian production of drones and different weaponry, Denmark was the first, and helping us with actually I think they are also the first to build a plant of weapon production on their territory. All of this is just a few examples of many others I see in the news, and some of them are going there under the blanket. You know, they are not showing this because actually the defense, I think it demands secrecy, which is unfortunately is not often seen in this war. Our partners like to announce what 30 tanks they are planning to send to us, you know. Yeah.
It's a mixed bag, you know. I feel like that was something early on where, what was one of the countries, maybe it was Germany, was never announcing anything, and all of a sudden there would just be a piece of equipment, and you're like, where the hell did that come from? But the United States was very vocal, down to like 17 javelins, right? Like very specific on what we were sending, and pros and cons to that. I think, yeah, in retrospect, I wonder if maybe that wasn't a good idea. I think politically that ended up backfiring a little bit, and people saw those numbers, and instead of saying awesome, great, I think enough people saw that as, is that where, like, all of our stuff is going to Ukraine? So, yeah, maybe in retrospect we shouldn't have shared the exact details.
But at least we have seen it for what it was, right? And we're not fooled by anything. We just got maybe not the whole truth, but at least a big part of it. Okay, maybe Roman's perspective, because I was talking for too long, it seems.
It's always Preston. You need to know Rick used to do streams for 8, 9, 10 hours.
Dude, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
So it's a habit. When you said we're gonna speak like 40 minutes both.
Like, I can't do it. Can't be done.
Yep.
Not a chance.
I'm still trying to be brief today, and Roman can see that. Come on, Roman. Give me some recognition here.
Brief-ish is what we'll say. Brief-ish.
Yeah. Yes.
That's it.
We did it. It's interesting that you said that we need to find the new way how to approach people together fundraising, and it's actually open a lot about people's psychology, how they thinking. So even for Ukrainians, we need to find out new way how to convince them to donate. This is crazy because like look at this. You live in the country which is in open war, and even here in Ukraine, we need to convince some people to donate, to think about what will happen if Russia come to your home, for example. Man, it's really tough. But from the other side, it's open a lot of understanding how previous wars was happened, how Second World War exists, at least, because for me it was ununderstandable. But now even in Ukraine we find some people who actually they don't care or they don't think, because this is some part of society which I believe will never don't care. Despite the war, zombie apocalypse, anything would happen, and they will just thinking, I can't affect on anything. It is what it is. So this is some first part of my answer, and second, of course, this is about communication, because unfortunately I don't like all the signals which came, especially when Zelensky met Trump, and it's always some talking in our mass, in our people, between our people, that it's gonna be peace soon. So they become relaxed. And our job, Rick's and mine and soldiers and volunteers, is to say, hell no, guys, it's not gonna be peace soon. Don't relax your asses, guys. You need to work hard to help defenders, because Russia don't want a peace. Look at this agreement, right? They openly said, we give you this agreement, but we will never sign it, even if you signed it. So, like, what's the point? But many people listen this crap, listen American president, listen our president, who try to cheers up people, and they become relaxed. They stop thinking critically, and this This is the hardest job, to convince them, like, look at this. Okay, they maybe try to sign something, but it lasts like a year, right? Since Trump become a president, they try to sign some deal for a year, and nothing actually happened. But from the other side, our enemy keep on pushing on the all front line and try to kill as many civilian and as many soldiers as they can during this time. So it's like some educational part to think critically and to understand, like, як сказати, послідовність або причина і наслідок.
Sequence or the причина и наследок. The sequence of the chain of events, you maybe meant?
Yeah. The chain of events. If something happened, it will comes to this result for sure. Period. So it's not only about raising funds. It's a way bigger job for conscious people to awaken those who unfortunately stop thinking.
No, that's not just, and we deal with that. I was just talking with some good friends the other day that said, hey, good news, it looks like there's about to be a peace deal. And I was like, what did you read or look at that I completely, like, but there was some headline that said, we're making progress or we're close. And I was trying to explain, like, close on a lot of things that maybe won't actually mean peace, right? The big outstanding things that have not been agreed upon are seemingly not any closer. We have that challenge here in the United States. It is a little crazier when you talk about having an issue there in Ukraine, because it's right there and people can at the very least hear the air raid sirens. I'm wondering in the military if there's some of that as well. The new defense minister just today gave a speech mentioning that there are, I think he said 200,000 soldiers AWOL, and I might be messing these numbers up, but maybe as many as 2 million that are evading mobilization or finding ways out of mobilization. I'm wondering what type of message do you think this new defense minister, maybe some government resources would be needed to be directed at that category as well? To, like, it seems like there's a disconnect within the military to a degree.
Yeah, Preston, for sure. It's a lack of communication, because such communications are uncomfortable. Either way, you send good news or bad news, it's always during war. It's uncomfortable, because if you're Minister of Defense and should say to soldiers, guys, you need to stay strong. There will be no rotation, and you need to keep on fighting. It's bad news. When you say, guys, it's gonna be rotation soon, you will have vacation, it's against reality. And even if he says such thing, I believe it's gonna be bad for soldiers as well, because they start thinking about how to get out from battlefield and have some rest. So this is very difficult to communicate. It doesn't matter if it's good news or bad news. You need to be very, like, you need to be master of negotiations at this point, and nobody prepared to such conversation at war.
Sure.
And if I may add to this, we on my streams, me and Roman, we are openly talking about the need of the army reform, and the need for that reform, for the big complex reform, not just some aspects of the army and not just some parts. We have multiple reasons why our soldiers go AWOL, and one of the biggest ones is lies. And fighting lies in the army lies in the reports to the higher command, just because in that, we can call it Soviet system, but it is already not a very Soviet system, to be honest. But if you bring bad news to your commander will yell at you and just replace you. And in the modern armies, we actually have a big part of Ukrainian army that is following these modern standards, where the bad news are brought to the commanders, and commanders accept them as they are and try to do something with it. Because without recognizing the issue, recognizing the problem, right, there is no chance to solve it. And we have very effective units who actually do the after-action review, and they are okay with receiving the report that the position is lost, and they won't say go immediately and restore it. I don't care how. We have these effective units that are showing the examples of the other units, and it is actually sometimes on this right now it's the whole core right now. There are two cores that are trying to fight this old system that just me, actually three cores that I know. That's an Azov Corps, Hartia Corps, and the Third Army Corps. These guys are breaking the wheel, and they are trying to implement new standards, and I really hope that it's going to be implemented to all the armies soon. But, we have a good sign. Budanov started talking about the problems with mobilization and reforming it. As an office of the president head, right? And you say today that our new defense minister, I think you're talking about Mikhailo Fedorov, right? That he gave a speech where he mentioned the AWOL. This is very good, man. This is actually a significant shift in the narratives that are circulating among Ukrainian politicians, because Ukrainian society is demanding the army reform for a year already. We're openly, like the active civilians here in Ukraine, we are talking about that, the activists. We are basically screaming about that. But we were ignored for a year. Now we finally seems to be heard, and finally something is already shifting into a positive direction. So there's a big hope that we will see some good changes this year that are going to start reforming our army and getting rid of the incompetent commanders, of the low pay for the soldiers. You know how important it is to just have more than $500 for soldiers if they work in the rear or they're being on the hospital break, to just feed their family, their wife and kids. I hear this from so many of my soldiers who end up in hospital, and one of them, for example, he served in Kraken, a badass soldier, and he had to go after his procedures, after physical therapy on his knees. His knees are completely, how can I say it without swearing? Can
Wasted.
I swear here?
Wasted was a good way. Yeah, there you go.
So I usually like to swear, but I'll skip it this time. So his knees are wasted, and he has to go and work as a taxi driver after the procedures while he is here on the hospital leave in Kyiv. Just imagine. And he says that sitting in the car for half of day is not good for his knees at all.
Yeah.
It is terrible. So we need to change all of that. So I'm finishing with my speech. I am really grateful that you raised that topic, Stuart. Preston. Oh, sorry.
I go by either.
See,
it's good, man. Yeah.
you see, we in Ukraine, we take it as familiarity, we call it. Calling someone by the last name is not okay in Ukraine. And I look at your name there, and I used your last name. And I was like, oh, shit, I should address you as Preston, not as Stuart.
I answer to both. It works, yeah.
Okay,
And for what
great.
it's worth, Preston and Stuart could both be first names and last names. So it's nice and confusing.
So, Preston,
Hey.
thank you for mentioning that topic. I'm happy
Yeah.
that we talked about that.
Rick, on that, you mentioned 3 units that you said are heading in the right direction, or starting to do it right. First Azov Corps, Second Hartia Corps, and Third Army Corps. 2 of those are National Guard, and they're the only 2 National Guard Corps. Is there any reason that those 2 are, in your opinion, leading the way, or is it just luck of the draw that 2 of them were National Guard?
I think since Roman served in both, it is his answer that is needed.
I have no answer. I was a part of that, and I believe a lot of consciousness people. No offense to other unit, but we have the highest percentage of volunteer soldiers. It means that we have a lot of different people who willing to fight, and the most important part that we have a lot of smart people who doing some intelligent thing in the civilian life. They doing business. They do some stuff. They learning. They teaching. Uh, and that's why I believe this is that's why such some brigade or some corps moving faster than another, because as somebody said, that war is it's just management. It's how you operate with the numbers, with the budget, with people, and how you communicate with them, how you organize logistic feedback and everything. So it's like ruling the really huge company with high risk. And from this perspective, I believe this is when you have higher percentage of smart people in your unit, department, or even company, it will reflect it on the results. This is just my opinion. But with no offense to other brigade and other corps, they are still did good, and I wish them all the best, because the more profitable they will be, the many good Russians we will see in Ukrainian land.
I
Well,
will.
I mean, I think you
Sorry.
go ahead, Rick.
I wanted to quickly add that I think what Roman also, okay, when Roman was talking about this, right, I thought, okay, I think I know what's the secret. These are driven by volunteers. These are led by volunteers who voluntarily joined the army, who were civilians before. These three corps are actually, I think, they are led by volunteers. That's the answer. And that's it.
I think that is spot on, man. That's what I was about to say. Is I feel like you probably could have stopped Roman at the volunteer part because of how important that is. And just from U.S. military history, when I think of the most effective units in warfare, it's always the guys that want to be there, that raised their hand and said, not necessarily I want to be in war, but I want to be with those. If I have to go, I want to be with those people. Yeah, it's that is so important. Of course, that's making a huge impact here.
Yeah, and I think placing the victory as a priority instead of placing the career as a priority. That's also a very important difference, that volunteers always place victory over the enemy as a priority.
Is that something that you're seeing? Go ahead, Roman.
Yeah, because volunteers want to win this war and get back to civilian life, and professional military, they want to serve for like lifetime.
Yeah,
And this is the crucial difference, I believe. Still,
Is
no
that
offense to professional soldiers, they are good, but many of them, they still like try to think, okay, I will serve like 20 years and then I will have some pension, some salary, and some benefits, and everything will be okay. They have absolutely different mindset. Most of the volunteers, they want to finish this war, they want to finish Russia, and they want to get back to doing business and raise families and do other stuff.
yeah.
I get
Good
it.
point.
So as we're kind of wrapping up here, guys, I was interested in your thoughts on what is not getting enough coverage when you see maybe other creators or news in the West outside of Ukraine. What is, I mean, Rick, we were talking before we started about the craziness you guys have to go through just to live day to day with the power outages. Is there anything I or others could help shine a light on that you don't think is getting the attention it deserves?
It is not connected to power outages because we manage to get through this. We adapt, but there is one topic that I wanted to discuss. It is Free Azov. Do you know what movement that is, Preston?
I feel like I've heard the term before. It must be about the Azov fighters still in Russian captivity.
Yeah, and not only them. There are too many captives who are not being spoken of around the world as it should be, as much as it should be. So I do these streams. I go to a rally that is called Free Azov Rally. We have it every Sunday in Kyiv and many other towns. I go there at any weather and I do the stream. I talk to people. Sometimes I meet the family members who wait for their soldiers' sons or husbands, sometimes brothers, sometimes it is a father, because kids are also waiting for their fathers and mothers. And sometimes I meet the former captives, Preston, and the news. about these rallies are getting to captivity. Even though Russia isolates them from any information, the guys are, they know that we're standing for them. And one of the captives told me, don't stop doing this because the information got to us through the newcomers in captivity, and it supported us from not losing our mind. So keep doing this. We are standing. Unfortunately, less people are coming to them lately, but who knows? Maybe my message today will encourage people to come to these rallies because they are happening around the world. And you see, guys, Free Azov, come there. Please support our captives. Our defenders who are in Russian captivity, because they are Russian captives technically, right?
Yeah, and I will respond to what we need more as just what I've learned from this war. People sick of tired of politician speeches from the media, and they wanna see more like life stories, more personal stories of the war. So I just wish you to communicate more to real Ukrainian, to show your audience who we are and why we're fighting for, because I believe this is more important than just spread news. This is like real communication and connection, so people have opportunity, especially foreigners, to know more what's going on, and according to that made their own decision, either they want to help them or not, because it will be affect more than any politician, no matter how bright speech are. So we need more real stories and real connection between foreigners and Ukrainians.
To that, Roman, when so most of the time a few weeks ago in Ukraine was with soldiers, and they're the ones I was like traveling from one spot to the next was with soldiers, and I've got some group chats from guys I served with, and was kind of keeping them updated on the travels. And they said, how was it? And more than once I said, well, you would love these guys. You'd fit right in. They're just like soldiers anywhere. They're like the guys we served with in Afghanistan and Fort Campbell. And like soldiers are soldiers, and they're telling the same dirty jokes, and they're making fun of each other, and they're all surviving on like some combination of nicotine and caffeine, and have really dark humor, and just getting across like they're the same. And as silly as that sounds, because of course people are the same around the world, I think that's really important to drive home just how much we all have in common. And for whatever reason, I don't think that, we do it well here in the States. My neighbors to the north and south and Kentucky and Georgia, like, I got it. We're all the same. For whatever reason, that hasn't connected as well as it should have with the people of Ukraine, especially the soldiers, that they are the exact same. They, in so many different ways as the young men and women we have here in our armed forces. So that's a really, really good point. But Rick, Roman, I know you guys are both really busy. Thank you both so much for taking the time to walk through all this today.
Thank you. Thank you, Preston. And as I say, live long, prosper, and donate.
There we go. Love it, man. So thank you again so much to Rick and Roman for taking the time to talk today. For anyone interested and able, the campaign they're running with Car for Ukraine will be linked in the description below. Again, they're trying to pick up 5 vehicles for the Ukrainian 53rd Mechanized Brigade. Great organization, great cause. But that's all we got for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.